We've come a long way. We are not there yet. If you saw the show last week, we needed to get to 7,000 Twitter followers at James Yoder by the 15th, by mid-month, for me to get my social media summer bonus from the fat cats at Chat Sports. Look, little Preston Yoder, 4 years old. He needs a new pair of shoes going back to school. He ain't getting them unless I get my bonus. So I need 32 more Twitter followers. Look, we've added almost 50 in the last 6 days. Appreciate those of you have, but if you want a 4-year-old boy to have a pair of shoes, Daddy needs to bring home the bacon. So give me a follow on Twitter at James Yoder. We're going to talk Jim Harbaugh and some of these scribes and pundits and blog boys out there saying he might be on the hot seat. That's coming up in the Michigan Football Report right now. I am your host, James Yoder of the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports, and it is wild and crazy listicle season in college football because every day now we're seeing, who's on the hot seat, who's going to be breakout this, breakout that, and the article of the week, the article du jour of the day, maybe if you will, is CBS Sports' Dennis Dodd putting out his coaches that are absolutely 100% on to the hot seat, and of course, if you want to get those page views up, you want to get some clicks, you got to put Jim Harbaugh in the headline, although he is not at the top of their list. He is on it. So they've got Harbaugh as, let's just call it, tied for fourth hottest seat. He tiered it out. Guys who absolutely are on the hot seat need a breakout season unless they're going to get fired. I'll name those coaches here in a second. And then he's got Jim Harbaugh in the second tier. They list him as 4 out of 5 when it comes to hot seat, like tier 4 out of 5. The 5 are the guys who are pretty much going to be done for. Harbaugh with a handful of other candidates, including Coach Ed Orgeron, which I thought was, I guess, a little rather surprising. Less than 2 years coming off a national title. But I'll read through them really quickly. It says people who were at the very top, it was win or be fired. Harbaugh, number 4, is start improving now. All right. You've got Scott Frost, right, the Nebraska coach, who's been there the same amount of time as Jim Harbaugh. Justin Fuente out of Virginia Tech, and then Randy Edsall at UConn, kind of his second run as UConn's head coach. Didn't work out at Maryland. But after that, you've got these 3 coaches at the very top, and I'll read it off to what it meant again. It means win or be fired. You never thought you'd see Scott Frost at the top of that list. Him and Jim Harbaugh came in with a lot of the same expectations, championship or high-level quarterback coming home to a ton of success at their last stop, coming home to bring their school back to glory of where it was when they were players, or Michigan's instance more recently, 5-10 years prior. Nebraska's been down for a little longer than Michigan, but Jim Harbaugh's in the hot seat. There's a handful of coaches. I'll name Herm Edwards, Ed Orgeron, Harbaugh, of course, Clay Helton from USC, Dana Dimmel, I don't even know who the heck that is, and then Walt Bell, also no idea who those guys are, but those are the coaches who rank 4 or 5 on the scale of what it means to be hot. If you're a 3, that means pressure's mounting. 2, all good for now. 3 or 1 is safe and secure, and then 0 is untouchable. That's some of the guys like Nick Saban, Daboll Sweeney, Ryan Day is actually on there, and a handful of others. But I'm going to ask you guys this question. If Michigan goes 8-4 record this year, let's just call it that's the record. I don't want to get into too many semantics about whether that means they beat this team or beat that team. 8-4 record. Does Jim Harbaugh get fired? I'll make it very simple for you. Go down in the comments. I will get down there in the comments myself and let you know what I think. Y for yes, he gone. N for no. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Will Harbaugh be fired with an 8-4 record? Let's take a little trip down memory lane. How do we get here? In all reality, I think you could maybe argue that Harbaugh to Michigan was one of the more celebrated and potentially game-changing hires in college athletics in the past, forever, right? A coach coming off 3 straight, 4 years in the 49ers, 3 of them where he got to the NFC title game. I think he's still got top 5 record of any NFL coach of all time, winning percentage. Coaches have coached 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons. And he went to a Super Bowl. He was 1 play away. They had first down inside the 10, I think it was. Had 4 plays to get it in the end zone. Couldn't do it in the 2012 season against his brother. Started off good, right? 2015, 10-3, 6-2 in the Big Ten. Lost that Michigan State game, right, on the drop punt to end it. That was a Michigan State team that went to the playoff. Lost in the very home opener on the road on a Thursday night, or in the season opener at a Utah team that was very good. So a play goes here or there. Harbaugh could have went 12-1 that first season, right? Had a great season in 2016, 10-3, 7-2. Started off the year 9-0. Got up to number 2 in the country. Lost to Ohio State, Iowa, then lost to Ohio State in the JT game, and then ended up losing the bowl game to Florida State with like 5 guys injured, out, etc. We go for it. Well, 2017 was a bad year, bad quarterback situation. Shea Patterson comes in. You lose the opener to Notre Dame, then reel off 10 straight games, including 3 teams inside the top 15 or so, end of October into November. Go into Ohio State game. And, after that initial start at Harbaugh, you saw a 19-4 start, which includes the first loss to Utah, which includes the heartbreaking loss in 2015 and the punt to Michigan State. He could have been potentially 21-2 if you win those 2 games. But after that, he is 30-18. You start 9-0 in the 2016 season. You go into Iowa, a mediocre Iowa team that year, and Jake Rudock gets hurt. I'm sorry, not Jake Rudock gets hurt. Wilton Speight gets hurt. John O'Corn has to come in. O'Corn ends up playing the next game against Indiana, and ever since then, Harbaugh's certainly better than a 500 coach, but 30-18 since that 9-0 start in the 2016 season, which is kind of crazy to think about it. But I'll say this, as we think about Jim Harbaugh in the hot seat, what's changed in the past 2 years? Well, they went into Columbus November 24th, 2018. It's the day that crushed Harbaugh's momentum. A lot of people say 2016, that was Harbaugh put everything he could into beating Ohio State his first couple years, took maybe the best team in the country, one of the best 2 teams in the country, 3 teams in 2016, 2 versus 3 game. I don't think that was it, because he turned it around, and 2017 was a down year. You turned it around, though. You lost Notre Dame, and then you rallied off 10 straight wins in 2018. You go into Columbus. Think how much the tide has changed, the tables have turned, all those cliches since this date, November 24th, 2018. Michigan goes into Ohio State as the 4th-ranked team in the country on the last Saturday in the regular season. Favored against an Urban Meyer team, ended up being Urban Meyer's last game, regular season game in the Big Ten. This is the team, by the way, Dwayne Haskins, right? 50 touchdowns. This was not a scrub team. They were in the top 10, but they also had 1 loss on the year. That was the year they lost to Purdue in that wild game where Purdue dropped like 70 on them. It's a close game. I ended up watching the highlights a couple days ago, just hung my head in shame. I was at the game. It was just a brutal experience. But since then, Ryan Day takes over, and Ohio State has gone to back-to-back playoffs, national title season last year, lost to Alabama in the title game, undefeated back-to-back regular seasons for the Buckeyes, and Michigan came into 2019 as the Big Ten favorites with Shea Patterson, a litany of wide receivers and running backs, 5 offensive linemen that season that got drafted over the next 2 drafts, and they put up a stinker of a 9-4 season. Lost to Wisconsin really bad early on. Turned out to be an okay season, but then got beat by Ohio State bad. Lost to Alabama in the bowl game. End up in a 9-4 season. You turn around and you go 2-4 in a Big Ten only season in 2020, and things have gone off the rails for this program. We'll take a look one more time. You see how they've gotten. They started good. If you eliminate the Ohio State game and the bowl game, Harbaugh's record looks a hell of a lot better than it actually is. But 2-4 in the conference-only season last year, and most people, myself included, predicting 7-5, 6-6, 8-4 record. It's going to be interesting to see how this year shakes out, because if he goes at 2-4 and then you go to a 7-5, 6-6, 8-4, I'll be calling for his job. Straight up, I'm not going to lie to you, unless they are ultra competitive in the games they lose, and you've got to be ultra competitive at home in year 7 against Ohio State. They will be starting a freshman, whether it's a true freshman quarterback or a redshirt quarterback. So we'll see how that goes. Make sure you guys smash that subscribe button. We're trying to catch up to Michigan Podcast. We're at 13,700 and some change subscribers here on the Michigan Football Report. The most watched, most influential, most entertaining, according to my mom, Michigan football show on the planet. But somehow Michigan Podcast had a little run of subscribers. They've got 14,100, 14,200. So help us get back to the top most subscribers in the Michigan football YouTube game by the time the season starts. If you forget, it's always youtube.com/Michigan TV. So as Jim Harbaugh fared against his rivals, he started off much like his record in those early years. He was doing pretty good against everybody except for Ohio State and in some ways the bowl game, right? 0-5 versus Ohio State. Let's be real. He would have been 0-6 had Michigan played against Ohio State. Didn't send everybody home for Thanksgiving. They all catch coronavirus. You all know what happened there. We're 0-6. But Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin is where I think the true story is being told here. 3-3 against Michigan State. That's unacceptable because the 2017 loss, the 2020 loss are just absolutely mind-boggling. Those Michigan State teams shouldn't have been competitive with Michigan those years. Those are games at home in Michigan Stadium. 2015, obviously Michigan State was a playoff team, but Harbaugh literally figuratively dropped the ball in that game. Could be 5-1, but 3-3. Penn State, you started off, I think it was 2-0 against Penn State, and now you're 1-3 in your last 4. Wisconsin won the first one, 2-3 overall, which means you're 1-3 in your last 4 against Wisconsin. And then Notre Dame, you lost the first one in 2018. Absolutely baptized them in 2019 in that rain-pouring game mid-October 2019, something like 40-something to 10-14. Nevertheless, these numbers don't play very well, and Jim Harbaugh is 1-4 in bowl games. Michigan, even though they were 2-4, they could have gone to a bowl game because there was no rules on bowl games last year. They could have gone to a bowl game. We're supposed to even play Iowa, if you remember, in the Big Ten crossover game championship weekend. 1-4 in bowl games. That's unacceptable. Michigan has ended the last 2016, 17, 18, and 19 have finished 4 straight seasons after year 1, losing your Ohio State game and your bowl games, ending the season with 2 straight losses. Completely unacceptable. And I'm just going to ask you guys, I'm going to make this kind of question, see what you guys think. You can comment about it. You can get the conversation going. Is Harbaugh burned out? Did he burn out after 20? People have always said Harbaugh only lasts in his coaching jobs, 3-4 years, right? University of San Diego, 3 years. Stanford, 4 years. 49ers, 4 years. But they were pretty much done with him after an NFC Championship appearance, interception in the end zone in that game against, away from going to 2 straight Super Bowls. People said, look, Harbaugh's going to come in, he's going to change the culture, he's going to have more success, but, he's not going to last at Michigan, he's not going to last anywhere. He rubs people the wrong way, he goes too hard, and then needs a new challenge. Is that not what we're seeing here with Jim Harbaugh? So if he goes 8-4, 7-5, 6-6, I think there should be some serious consideration under whether he should be fired, whether or not he signed a contract extension for 4 more years, whether or not he's got a buyout, this or that. The buyout structured where Michigan is not in any worse case, even though they extend him, than they would if they were to fire him last year. So I think Jim Harbaugh needs to show demonstrative improvement from the offense, the defense, from the strategy, substitution patterns. Really, the entire program needs to improve this season, or Harbaugh will probably be looking for a new job, and Michigan, of course, will be looking at for a new coach. But I'll ask you guys this question: scale of 1 to 10. Don't lie. Give me your confidence level on Jim Harbaugh. Heading into the season, I think everybody would have been a 10 out of 10 heading into the 2015, 16, probably 17 season, 18 season, maybe even 19, right? But since then, since the 2019 season, after back-to-back blowout losses, I think most people are at 5 at best. I'm literally like a 3.5, maybe a 2 at this point. But I want to know from you guys. Go down, answer 1 through 10 in the comments. It's not the offense that I'm worried about as much going into the season, although the offense has been absolutely abysmal under Josh Gaddis. I think he should have been relieved of his duties. But how about these defense numbers? We could have pulled the stats, but we did a show a few weeks ago. Michigan in pass defense and total defense was in the top 10, and if not the top 5, in 4 of the 5 seasons prior to 2020 under Jim Harbaugh, was top 5 total defense in 3 of those 5 seasons. And in the one season that they weren't, that I mentioned, they were like number 14 or 15. That's because of the 2018 Ohio State game, I think it was. But look at these numbers last year. 34.5 points a game, 95th in the country. 434 yards given up, 89th in the country. 178 passing yards a game, 79th in the country. And they gave up 255 yards rushing last year, 96th in the country. Some people said that Michigan gave up last year, that they weren't playing for their teammates, weren't playing for their coaches. I guess it just is what it is at this point. But I'm going to ask this question. I'm just going to kind of talk about it, show a few folks that I think would be considered. But who would be the next Michigan coach if Jim Harbaugh is either fired, mutually agreed to part ways after the 2020 season? There's certainly not going to be any shortage of candidates, but I don't think my top 4 has changed since the end of last season. That is Brian Daboll, offensive coordinator for the Bills, was OC with Alabama, has gone to the Bills, really turned around their passing game, really turned around their quarterback situation. Luke Fickell, Ohio State grad, interim coach for 2011. Would he come over to Michigan? Well, I don't know, probably not, but Maybe, right? Maybe. Bo Schembechler was an Ohio State grad, Ohio State coach at one point. Joe Brady thought he'd get an NFL head coaching job, still OC with the Panthers. He's got the allure of the 2019 LSU season, that shine still on him. And then number one, I think anybody's number one, as long as their team doesn't collapse and have a down season, is Matt Campbell. Bringing a Iowa State team into the season should be a top 10 preseason team for them. So I'll just ponder out. Those are the guys I think should be Michigan's at the top of their list. Of course, they might shoot for the stars and go after, I don't know, any number of other coaches, but those are the ones that I think are reasonable that Michigan could get, reasonable that Michigan would be a step up over the current job. Iowa State, Cincinnati, offensive coordinator of the NFL times two, and I think are young enough and are offensively driven that they could potentially compete with Ohio State down the stretch. So we'll see how it plays out, but CBS Sports thinks Jim Harbaugh has the fourth hottest seat in 2021. Get going in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll be back with more Michigan football news and rumors in the coming days. Till then, go Blue.